What's up, guys? Quick reflection on the weekend after the Physique Summit in St. Louis. Anytime I go to these types of events or have my own seminars or just am with a group of like-minded people and successful people, I just like to reflect and learn something, whether it's even if it's not necessarily nutrition or training related, maybe it's business related, maybe it's something psychological, just a different perception on things. So I think probably the biggest takeaway from the weekend is not being afraid to do things, just not being afraid in general. Don't let fear hinder what you do. That was, for me personally, that was probably one of my biggest downfalls, is I knew I had the knowledge to do certain things. I knew that failure wasn't an option. Everything I'd done, I succeeded at. Maybe not at first, but eventually, because I wouldn't give up, and I would figure out how to do it if I didn't do it right the first time or whatever. So that was never really, it wasn't an effort issue, it wasn't a knowledge issue, it was just I was afraid to do things. And when you see people that are successful, other people around you that are, also doing well, I like to see how did they get there, what were the obstacles, because really you don't get the full scope when you see social media. One of the speakers actually talked about how the path to success looks so short when you see it on social media or online, just because you don't see everything else that goes into it, and that's really true. And everyone deals with fear, but I think for me one of the biggest things was I always talk about separating emotion from logic and trying to think logically, and not just thinking out of emotion. And with that said, I think emotion is good. I think emotion's a good driver at times as like an initial motivation to do something maybe, but then you have to step back and kind of look at the situation logically and evaluate pros and cons, how things might go, maybe unforeseen obstacles, and obviously you can't foresee everything. It's just not possible. But with that said, you can at least have some idea, not do anything completely idiotic, because the idea of just going for anything, you could definitely run into troubles and do something you don't want to do, if it's purely emotion driven. And in terms of decision making, I've always been conservative in that regard, because hey, what if this goes wrong, or what if this goes wrong, which isn't, it saves you some trouble, sure, but it obviously limits your potential and your success. So yeah, I think, like I said, one of the biggest things is biggest takeaways was probably just not letting fear hinder what you do. And that's been a big goal of mine for the last couple years or so, and it's helped my business a ton. I've done a lot of other things that I never would have thought I would have done before. Opened a gym, that sucked, didn't work, but it is what it is. But my nutrition, my coaching business is going really well, doing other things related to that, seminars, going to a different country and speaking at a seminar. Never would have thought I would have done that, and been successful at it. And I knew I could do it, but I never thought I would have actually gone through with it. So just a multitude of things, and networking with people this weekend and being confident, made several networking connections on some various things. So again, just don't let fear hinder what you do. Take a step back, evaluate the situation, try to think logically and sensibly, but at the same time, aim high, and make sure that you allow yourself to unlock your full potential. If that means that you do fail initially at something, keep trying. Adapt, figure out a way to do it. There does come a point where you have to bail on something where it's just obviously it's not going to work. It's going to cause more negative than positive, like the gym, for example. Wasn't going to work. Smart decision was get out. But that's not always the case. You know, those are decisions that I can't obviously make for anyone on the video, and I couldn't explain a way to make those decisions because it's kind of an in the moment thing, and you have to figure it out on your own and weigh both sides. But yeah, that's it, guys. So I would definitely check out the Physique Summit too if you haven't checked it out before. It's a really cool event. Cliff Wilson, John Gorman put it on. They did a really good job. Speakers were awesome. A good mix of subjects, you know, in terms of science, literature, having someone like Brad Schoenfeld there to go over some literature and current studies and things of that nature, and then mixing it in with somebody like you know, Ryan Doris, for example, who's wasn't talking about that by any means, more of a mindset discussion, but they were all fantastic. So yeah, really good weekend. Hope this is a good takeaway message for you guys, and hope everyone has a good week.